Hello and welcome to the fourth part of our Intercession Academy. And as I've been saying, we're going through very sort of short videos with a bit of an action at the end of it. So I've been challenging people to, or you to, pray for half an hour with a specific way of praying at the end of each session. And so during this session, we're going to do the same again. We're going to talk about something slightly different to what we talked about in the last two sessions. But I want to talk to you about this idea of how the intercessor is able to warn the church, Now this is a gift of the watchman prophet, and so this is where the lines are sort of blurry. The intercessor can sometimes be a watchman prophet. Watchman prophets are always intercessors, but not all the time is an intercessor a watchman prophet. Okay, so the two get muddled up and mixed up quite a lot. Maybe you've been feeling as though when you're interceding on behalf of the church, God has been giving you warnings about things to come against the church. You then may well be a watchman prophet. That means that essentially you're part of the prophetic ministry. Now, all prophets have it in their ministry to spend time in the presence of God. It's where we get the revelations from. It's where God reveals his goodness to us. And so all prophets are called to pray at the same time as they're called to speak the word and to do some actions like prophetic warfare stuff and things like that. But the watchman certainly is really good and is called to warn the church. Now, here's the thing about the watchman prophet. Sometimes it will take a long time before you're given the full responsibility of the watchman prophet. Watchman prophets oftentimes will bring warnings to their local church, and then as they become more fluent in their gift, sometimes what will happen is they will be given the opportunity to sort of expand that gift and go beyond their local church. It's not very often you see the watchman prophet in action in the wider church. All too often what you see is a Nabi prophet and a seer prophet. But the watchman is very much alive and true and has loads of examples in the Old Testament when the prophets would stand up and they would say, this is coming against the people of God. We need to pray against this. We need to pray for protection. We need to pray for God to help us out of this sticky spot. Just recently, actually, someone in our church said that they felt that social media was almost like an attack on our young people. Now, that could well be true. That sounds like something that the watchman prophet might say. I'm not so keen on the watchman prophet who tells us in hindsight that they had a prophecy 3 years ago about COVID or about Donald Trump. That prophet I'm not so bothered about, because it seems that they only want to release their stuff after it's happened. I want to hear it and then I want to see it. I don't want to hear about it in hindsight. However, if you are a watchman prophet, if you're feeling like you're flowing in that rhythm, in that place, then what you can do is you can record your videos. You can record a short video and keep it to yourself. Keep it locked away somewhere. Maybe upload it to YouTube and set it to a private video so that if it happens at some point in the future, you can come back to it and say, this is the date that was uploaded to YouTube 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and here's the evidence that essentially this is a prophecy and it's not just me trying to make a name for myself. Not that people do that, obviously. So watchmen prophets and people, intercessors who are able to warn the church. What might you be warning people of? Well, sometimes God will give you the name of the enemy who is trying to attack. Maybe the enemy's name is loneliness, or maybe the enemy's name is Lucifer. I know it sounds a lot more scary, doesn't it? But here's the point. As you're spending time in God's presence, as you're spending time intimately in the tent of meeting, you may notice by now that I've mentioned the tent of meeting in every session. As you spend time in your special place where you meet with God personally and intimately connect with him, from time to time, he may well tell you the enemy is going to attack. He may well tell you the enemy's name. And in that moment, a good thing to do is to chat to your elders, to your pastor, and tell them what the Lord is saying to you. That's what an intercessor does. They don't go blasting it all over the internet waves and all that sort of stuff. They come to the local church, they belong to the local church, and they warn their local church. Pastor, I feel like there's an attack coming from the enemy. Can you pray? Weigh it up and keep this in mind, that I feel like maybe the attacker is called poverty, or is called loneliness, or is called COVID-19, or whatever else it is that you feel. But that should be brought to the elders and the pastor of the church, and then spoken out by them to the people that they love and that trust them. That's how the intercessor warns the church. Amen.